Oh no, wait. Maybe I'll try to make myself cry, actually. Oh man, that's brutal. Welcome back to Everyday Movie Ever. My name is Jess and I'm watching Everyday Movie Ever. Today I'm going to talk about 8 Below. 8 Below is a 2006 theatrical release. It's directed by Frank Marshall, cinematography by Burgess, editing by Christopher Rouse, music by Mark Isham, and it's written by Dave DiGilio. It's a remake of the 1983 Japanese film Antarctica, which is based off the 1958 Japanese Antarctic research expedition, in which 15 husky sled dogs were abandoned when they couldn't return to the base. And when they returned a year later, 7 were dead, chained up still, 6 were unaccounted for, and 2 had miraculously survived. The film stars Paul Walker as Jerry, Bruce Greenwood as Davis, Moon Bloodgood as Katie, and Jason Biggs as Charlie. They used over 30 dogs for filming, and the film does have a no animals were harmed during the making, even though supposedly there was an incident on set where a trainer used excessive force to break up an animal fight, which sounds really not great. The film has a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the consensus reads, heartwarming and exhilarating mutts who deftly display emotion, tenderness, loyalty, and resolve. It had a $40 million budget, and it made $120.5 million in the box office. Visually breathtaking, as I'm sure many of you could guess. The only thing that I could tell was digital was the leopard seal. Otherwise, if any of their great expanses of Antarctica were fake, I totally bought it. They were absolutely stunning. It is visually breathtaking. Even their inside shots. There's one shot in particular, for some reason, I was just obsessed with. It's Katie at the window of a door looking out to see if Jerry and the dogs with Davis have gotten back yet, because they're waiting for them through the storm, and the others are in the background, and just the way it's lit and set up and focused is stunning. It is like grade A inside shot, like it's static inside shot. It is a shot that does not move. There's also a lot of movement, which is really spectacular, and it just has a very beautiful color correction and color palette and all that kind of stuff. It's really genuinely a very beautiful looking film. Christopher Rouse should be proud because this is very well edited. The suspense during the out in the wilderness against, protocol type situation really had me anxious. The way they were able to build up, Christopher and his assistants, I'm sure, were able to build the suspense of you keep expecting something terrible to happen to Davis and Jerry while they're out, at the end of the season. You're a little nervous about what's going to happen. And they do a really good job of, like, when the moments do happen, it's kind of like, oh, okay, it's happening now. And then there's suspense, you're like, it's going to happen now, and it doesn't happen, and then it happens. You're like, oh my gosh, so horrifying. They did a really great job with that. I want to murder whoever made the decision to do the days on their own across the bottom of the screen. I'll touch on it much more during writing an opinion, but I cried for 90% of this movie because I knew what was coming. I had seen this movie once in theaters and never again, and really had sworn to never see it again. But obviously now I had to see it again for this. I was really tempted to just try and skip it because I can't do it. But whoever did the days on their own, wow, just the most heart-wrenching and gut punch addition. And I don't care if it was a director or editor decision, it was part of the edit, you could say. And it was, while I hate the film, it was a fantastic choice. Looking at it, if I were the director and editor, to make it more effective in how horrific of a disaster this was, doing that absolutely conveys it, and it's just straight to the jugular every time. I was crying, consistent tears for the whole movie, but every time they did a days on their own, it brought up new sobs. And so I'm giving props to the editor for that, because I feel like Christopher knew exactly when to put the days on their own because, and it was always a shocking number. You start with 2, you're like, oh, okay. And then you're expecting it to be like 5, 15. And then you're expecting it to be like 20, it's 30. And then you're expecting it to be like maybe 40. And they jump to like, 50 or something. And then it's like you expect it to be maybe like 60 or 70, it's 100 and something. Like, it just really, they did a great job. Even though I hate it, they did a great job doing that. And then the abandoning the dogs montage, which obviously it is, for Paul Walker's character, an unintentional abandoning of the dogs. The little montage they do of that, no, Christopher needs to go straight to jail for that one. That's when, like, I was already crying because I was anticipating, like, dogs being abandoned and dog deaths. So then when the abandoning started happening and it turned out to be, like, somewhat of a montage, no. And then the only other thing that's, like, kind of a fun thing is the leopard seal jump scare got me so good. I was so emotionally invested in the fact that, like, Max was, like, trying to prove himself and, like, find such an incredible meal for his pack, even though he hasn't seen his pack in a minute. And they show up and he's doing everything he can to try and, like, get food for them. And then the leopard seal came out of the whale carcass. I jumped clear on my seat and I was, like, already crying because of everything. So, good job, Christopher. Excellent work. Excellent work. I don't want to say this is Mark Isham's best work because he's done a lot. Mark Isham has done so much. He did, like, all of Once Upon a Time's music, I'm pretty sure. And he's done a lot of amazing scores. Abandoning the Dogs, the song that plays during that, and then the song that I listened to at the beginning of this video to get, like, put myself back in that zone to get the tears, was called My Best Girl, and it's Maya is his best girl. And, it's really good. And that makes me mad because it just helped elevate my emotion tenfold. So, good job, Mark Isham. I'm flipping the bird at every single person that made this movie. Instead of taking place in 1958, this takes place in 1993. That's the year I was born. January of 1993, which is when my cousin was born. So what's up, Reed? This is brutal. Obviously, I've already stated it was based on a true story, and this film was a remake of the 1983 Japanese film, which was obviously an adaptation of the true story that happened. And as I've already kind of mentioned, the idea that the dogs were going to be abandoned had me crying. My tears definitely started about 20 minutes in. That is before they've been abandoned, before anyone has, before any of the dogs have gotten hurt or anything like that. My tears started then and did not stop for the entirety of the movie. I was a mess. Which I guess is good job storytellers, but also, like, large in part due to the fact that just dogs are dying in general and getting abandoned, and I can't deal with that. Story-wise, they do a good job at the beginning of setting up just, like, the wholesomeness of Jerry and his 8 pets. And the dogs are, like, actually angels. They're so good at their jobs. And, I feel like well, that's more acting. So, story-wise, I've already also mentioned that the Days on Their Own was just killed me every time. It was just re-solidified it. But I think my biggest gripe with the story is that no one was angry enough, in my opinion. I know 1958 was a different time. It was a completely different time of how people, like, looked at dogs and treated dogs. But, like, today, this could, like, never happen. This could never happen today. In the story, Paul Walker's character talks about, like, he's tried going to news outlets. He's tried doing this, that, and the other thing. If he went to a news outlet today, they would get him to Antarctica in a heartbeat to save those dogs, because that is, like, a huge piece that would happen. And I couldn't, that's like the part of the story that I was so upset about, is that no one was, besides Jerry, who I feel like on one side was not like angry enough, even though I understood like he probably was understanding that like all these people are like tied to their jobs and everything. I still feel like he wasn't like angry at other people enough, but like that's just me. But everyone else not being like like they were sad, but they weren't upset with him. And I just couldn't believe that. Like Katie and Davis were telling him to like let it go, basically. And that's unreal to say to someone who like just against their will abandoned their 8 dogs to certain death, and to just be like, oh, you just need to let it go when it hasn't, like it's only been like 2 months, is insane to me. I can't believe that no one else in the story was like, no, what can we do? How can we get back there? Like, we have to do this. I'm with you the whole way. Like, the fact that there were multiple people that were like, you can't let this hold you back forever. You need to let this go. When it had only been like 2 months since it had happened, was infuriating to me. I could not comprehend that, because if I had been forced to abandon 8 dogs that I had raised and trained and like took care of and loved and adored and snuggled with and just like were my pets, I don't know if I ever would have gotten over that, let alone in 2 months. And I totally, like, I hated that no one was, like, willing to be like, yeah, no, how can we get you back there to at least get you, like, closure so you can know what happened to them, if they've all just died, if they all, like, and we can bury them or whatever. It's, like, I can't imagine. And so the story made me so mad that no one else was, like, as upset as Jerry was, and wasn't, like, trying to be like, yes, like, we're figuring this out, what can we do to help you? They were all kind of like, oh, if you figure out a way, like, of course I'll be there for you and take, like, go with you, but, like, good luck, you need to let this go, don't let it hold you back. Like, no. Paul Walker does an excellent job. I love that he got to do this with Disney, even though I hate the movie. But I love that he got to do this with Disney, because the last thing he did with Disney was Meet the Deedles, which is just, we know that one. So to turn and be like more grown, be an adult in this movie, and do something a lot more serious that requires a lot more emotion, he did an amazing job. I wish he had been angrier at certain people, but that's more of a director choice than I'm sure it was Paul's choice. And then I have to talk about the 30 plus dogs that they used in this movie. I know it's a huge testament to the cinematographer and the editor and just the crew and the trainers in general, to how they were able to craft some of the most like emotional forward dog scenes in the world. But these dogs worked their hearts out, and they did such a good job. Some of the most, like, incredible scenes with the dogs, how they were able to, like, train the dogs to do specific movements and specific looks and all of that, is actually incredible, and how they were able to capture it and edit it together to make it convey something without any words. Was really amazing. When Maya says bye to Jack, that will live permanently in my brain forever. And then when they all lay on Dewey, oof. And then when Maya is giving up and transfers like leadership to Max, oof, oh my god. And then Just like when Maya is like giving up, and Max is refusing to like leave her there. Ooh, also so good. They're really good. I hate this. It is extremely well made, and very emotional and provoking. And everyone did a great job. Cinematography amazing, editing amazing, music so incredible, directing, acting, everything so well done. I hate it. I will never be watching this movie again in my life. I don't know why I would ever want to put myself through this. You think Old Yeller is bad? No. Okay? I think I could watch Old Yeller again. Because, like, at least there's, like, yes, it's horrible, but, like, they loved him and there was a reason that they had to put him down. Where this is just horrific. And I cannot deal with the fact that 13 died in reality and 2 survived. I can't deal with that. That's so sad. And I was genuinely, like I've already mentioned it, but I was genuinely mad at everyone in the movie for not being upset enough and telling him to get over it. This destroyed me. As you can see, I don't think I've cried this much in a Disney video. I know I've cried and gotten emotional a couple times in reviews. But this, every time I try to tell someone about it, I get emotional. And granted, I watched it yesterday, so like it's fresh. But like I work with dogs, and we just had a dog that came every week that passed away, and like it's too much of a reality. I don't want to think about any of them dying. So this was just really hard to watch, and I will never be watching it again. I would definitely not recommend watching it if you want to avoid whatever this is. Yeah, Paul Walker, rest in peace. You loved us in this world with Crave Your Wave, a lot of fast driving movies, and whatever this absolute jugular moment is. But that's gonna be it. That's everything for A Below. Don't watch this if you are trying to avoid this situation. If you need to cry for some reason, I guess go ahead. I think the music might do it though. You might be able to avoid watching this horrific movie by listening to the music. I think I would be crying like this if it were any animal in the same scenario, to be perfectly honest, because it's the idea of them getting abandoned and then like dying. So it literally could be horses, could be cats, could like whatever. Animals, I can't. My final rating is 8, and that's purely technical, okay? I hate this movie, I will never watch it again, but it was extremely well made. So it's getting an 8 Huskies and Malamutes out of 10. Our cry count is... Wait, did I already do our total? No, I didn't even do our total. Okay, that was our final rating. Our total movie count is... Our cry count is... Parent death toll is still the same, but there's 2 dogs that die. Until next time. No, what am I doing? If you want to keep up with the movie I'm watching when, follow me on Instagram or Twitter. You'll find out what movie I'm watching when I put out videos every Monday and Friday, and sometimes Wednesday. Join Patreon. Okay, I got a tier starting at just $1 where you can get every video a week early and a coupon code of merch. Buy merch, okay? I wear Parent Death Toll shirt, even though no parents die, but there's lots of dog deaths. And until next time, comment, like, subscribe. I'm not in charge of your life. You are, so do you. And don't abandon 8 dogs in the Antarctic. Please, don't abandon dogs anywhere. 72% on Rotten Tomatoes. Heartwarming and exhilarating. Mutts who deftly display emotion, tenderness, loyalty, and resolve. Stop. The tear rolling down my face.